a hot take. I really don't think Sheila would like me. And guess what? I cannot stand her. Get me my soapbox, Matt. Somebody. I don't know where it is. But I'm mad at Netflix. I'm mad at Sheila. I'm mad at the guys who made Wild Wild Country for not making this better. I am furious. Let's go. Are we done? Are we doing this? Come on. Enough.
She's in rare form today, everybody. Hi, Gillian Pensavali.
Hello, Patrick Hines, and not hello, Sheila. Goodbye, Sheila.
Hello to everybody except for... Good morning to everyone except for Sheila.
Good morning to everyone except fucking Sheila Ma Anand. Hater.
You guys, I don't understand why this documentary was made. We'll get into it in a minute. I stopped myself from texting you 30 times. Like, what is this? I don't understand.
It's a commercial for Sheila, which is completely unnecessary.
Totally. Well, you know what is necessary? If you guys want more Gillian Pensavali and me, join us on the Patreon. I'm going to up the number. I'm going to say 210 full ad-free bonus episodes to download and binge right the second. Let's rattle off some of the series they can find us there. It's All Begun in the Dark, Night Stalker, Lorena,
Murder Among the Mormons, This Is a Robbery, both on Netflix, Don't F with Cats, Tiger King,
Serial, The Staircase, The Jinx, classic, iconic TCO content. Come on. You can also get ad-free versions of these episodes, after parties. You get early access to our live shows when that starts happening again.
Yeah.
It's the place to be on the interwebs, as the children say.
It's a party.
Yeah.
I'm saying that every time. I'm sticking with it.
Two more quick things, you guys. Join our Facebook group, the True Crime Obsessed Podcast Discussion Group, and follow us on Instagram, True Crime Obsessed Podcast, every Tuesday at noon. Jillian and I go lunch. We do go lunch, I guess.
We do go lunch. Yeah, well, we call it Ladies Who Lunch, but it's noon Eastern, and we hang out for like a half an hour. We take your questions, we talk about the ep, and we just sort of like just chill. We say hi.
And you know what? Every time you guys get mad at us about something, that's where we address it. So if you're looking for the drama, come find it on Ladies Who Lunch. All right, girl, this is a real question this week. What on earth are we talking about today? What the hell is this thing?
A bunch of bullshit, but technically it's called Searching for Sheila, and it's on Netflix.
I gotta say, it's a good idea, I guess, for a documentary. But like, if you guys remember, this is all inspired by that documentary Wild Wild Country, which was bananas and excellent. And we covered that, I think we did it in 2 episodes like forever ago.
I mean, very, very early on. I think it's 4 episodes on Netflix. People were obsessed with it. Like, it's a very fascinating documentary. But Sheila, Sheila's tough titties.
Yeah.
Sheila was the breakout star, for better or worse. She is an actual terrorist, but people loved her. I'll never know.
People who don't commit crime don't escape like that.
Finally, you're coming to India after 30 years. Happy homecoming, Sheila.
So I got the opportunity of speaking to one of the most talked about person. You know her by the name Ma Anand Sheela.
When I was an empress, the kingdom was rosy.
Ma Anand Sheela, famous for being Bagwan Rajneesh's top aide, is facing serious charges of both fraud and attempted murder.
Who is the real Sheila?
She is the murderer. Out of the very burden of all the crimes that she has done, she will suffer her whole life.
World sees me from their point of view.
A young girl from Gujarat who made it very, very big.
I had number of hardships after I left Bagwan, but history is not written for my part. It is Bagwan's history, not Sheila's history.
But he did not stand by you. He called you a criminal. This disturbs me and I want you to be angry. Why aren't you angry?
I cannot satisfy you.
No more questions, Sheila? Sheila, why did you stop the interview?
I'm just as much a human as any person here.
Sheila the Terrible, Sheila the Charmer.
I'm not the same person you think I am.
All right, you guys. So it opens with sort of the end of Wild Wild Country, which I guess I forgot how that ended. Like, Sheila was the Bagwan's number 2, right? But then things got real bad between them real fast.
Yeah, so he threw her under the bus. She threw him under. I mean, she was like fired and disowned. So we hear the Bagwan. And if you remember, he spoke very slowly and everything was drawn out. If you watch this doc, I don't recommend it, but if you were to watch this, you would see that there are jump cuts when they just to get it, like, to keep him going, because he's like,
He has betrayed the whole commune. She is the murderer.
he fired her. She was disowned. She's a murderer. But it's the largest case of immigration fraud ever, which I forgot. Largest
Me
case
too.
of poisoning because she tried to poison an entire town. She's a terrorist.
And wiretapping. Don't forget the wiretapping.
Of course.
So we get the on-screen text. It says July 22nd, 1986. Sheela was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and she'd been convicted of multiple charges of assault, poisoning, and wiretapping. She only served 39 months, girl. Didn't somebody die?
Yes. Or she tried to poison people. She was a menace and a terrorist, I will say it again. But she got out after 39 months, released on good behavior.
39 months? That's like an 18th of the sentence.
Again, not good at math, but that does not add up for me. And here's like one of the most fascinating things about Sheela. As much as I strongly dislike her. In 1990, she moved to Switzerland and she starts a special help home. And that is like, I want to know how she got to the cult, and I want to know what her life is like in Switzerland helping these people, because on the record, I cannot stand this woman. I don't think she's a good person, but there's a piece of her that has to be a little good in some way to want to do this and help people. This is not an easy gig that she has right now.
No, and I could go on about this for forever. My mother worked in places like this, and I will say, like, in countries like Switzerland, they probably get a lot more like support financially from the government. Like, it's
100%.
probably a lot easier to do that job there where they're paid adequately and,
100%. But emotionally, you're dealing with people, and you have to be a certain type of person. I think a speck of you has to be a little selfless in some way.
Yeah. Because Sheela, like, I get the sense when she's not fucking reminiscing about the cult or on a fucking book tour about it, she's probably a hoot at a cocktail party. She seems like she'd be a ton of fun if you could get her to talk about anything but the fucking Bagwan for 5 minutes.
Hard disagree, but we'll get there. Because we're at home with Sheela. We get the staged phone call about how Sheila's on her way to India. Pack your bags, girl. The visa was approved.
But wait, we meet her sister, and her sister says to us, like,
I always was afraid that once she goes to India, then she might not come back alive. And now we are at the end of the line. Then she should go and visit. Whatever may happens.
But we're coming to the end of it now, so who cares?
As in the end of her life. I mean, we're all dying soon anyway. And Sheila's like, she's nervous because she hasn't been back to India in 35 years.
And what about security?
I have organized. You have nothing to worry about the security. All the clearances have been done. There's so many people who are looking forward to meet you.
Don't worry, I've organized security for you. It's the worst acting I've ever seen. But as the phone call is happening, the stage scripted phone call, we see all of these like supposed to be arty, framed black and white photos from her time in the cult. Like, she still loves it.
But the thing is, we see all these beautiful pictures of her like kneeling at the Bagwan's feet, like washing his feet, like her head cradled in his hands. And it cuts to like a video of the Bagwan being like, she was horrible.
Yeah. She's a murderer. I fired her. I never liked her to begin with. She didn't dump me. I totally dumped her. Bye.
I was like, the Bagwan was mad.
Well, he's a shifty motherfucker, too. I don't like him either.
It's water under the bridge for Sheela. The Bagwan is rolling in his grave. Rolling in it.
Well, good. Who cares? I hope he's resting unpeacefully. I hope he's having a rough time.
Your feelings are so strong. Not since the Cecil Hotel have I seen you so worked up.
Last week, that was, right? Great. But so, like, basically we get all this news footage from India.
The world had almost forgotten about Sheela till a 2018 Netflix documentary that followed the rise and fall of Rajneesh brought the Vadodara-born anti-hero back into the limelight.
No one gave a shit about Sheela until Netflix came out with that documentary in 2018, and now we have to talk about her. So that's every news anchor in India.
I know. I mean, I don't know anything about the press in India. I don't know anything about how anything works over there. But, like, the way it's presented here does make it feel like suddenly, like, Sheela is all the rage in India. Like, everybody wants a piece of her.
Yeah, and we get this editing where Sheila's talking about her life, and the thesis is, like, she's so misunderstood. Everyone just forgive her. So as she's talking about, like, everyone just misunderstands me, we get a clip from the news who's like,
an epitome of feminism, or the woman who tried to poison an entire town, the brain behind Osho's empire, or a criminal mastermind. Who is the real Sheela?
You remember Sheela, that woman who tried to poison an entire town? And I'm like, I have a pretty good understanding of it. honestly.
When you see video of her from back in the day, and we get tons of it, she was real mad. Like, Sheila, there was something came over her in those years that she was like basically running that cult. And it seems like she's softened a little bit, but as soon as she starts talking about the cult again on this book tour, which by the way, that's why she's going to India. She's going to India to promote her book.
Right.
She gets real mad all over again. You know what I mean? Like, she seems like a soft old lady that you almost can't imagine how she once was the younger version of herself, but then it all starts to come back out.
Yeah, the whole thing is like she wrote a book about the cult. She's doing a press tour about the book about the cult, but you can't ask her a question about the cult. And it's like, Sheila,
totally.
And that's what's so frustrating, because she's like, I'm an open book. I'm so misunderstood. And you can't say like, okay, Sheila, then clarify this. And she gets like enraged that you would dare ask her to clarify something. And like, then don't go on a fucking, look, a book tour, all it is questions. The entire thing is you being asked questions. So don't do it then if you don't want me to ask you a question. Because I'm asking you a question, Sheila. I have notes and I have questions, and I'm asking every last one of them. I don't care how mad you are, because I'm mad too.
So, you guys, we're following Sheila. She gets on the plane. She's going to India. She lands in India, and there are fucking paparazzi at the airport. She's Madonna walking through LAX. Maybe she's more like Bjork. Maybe she's like calmly walking, and she's going to eventually grab one of those reporters by their hair and throw them to the ground.
You really never know. You never know. So whoever the guy is who was on the phone saying like, pack your bags, girl, your visa was approved. He's the founder of something called Humans for Humanity, which is the fakest sounding charity I've ever heard in my life. If that's real, you got to change the name. Humans for Humanity? That sounds so fake.
What was the one where Portia de Rossi in Arrested Development had a foundation? The initials for the organization were CASH, and she was getting them to write checks to
And so she's with this guy, this Humans for Humanity thing that makes no sense, straight out of Arrested Development, like you're saying. And she also has this glam squad. So she's shopping for whatever events they're going to. And someone says like,
what would Bagwan think of this outfit? I think he would like it.
Oh, do you think the Bagwan would like that sari? And she's like, I really think he would. Swoon.
It's weird because she's got like a gay with her, and then she's got like a lady stylist, and they're in a little bit of a competition about like trying to dress her. Like, these people, I don't know if everyone in India is, but these people are obsessed with Sheila. It'd be like me dressing the Indigo Girls. You know what I mean?
And they just all really, really want Sheila to like them. And I can't get there because I don't give a fuck. So it's hard for me to put myself in their shoes. And then at one point she's talking to some guy who seems like, I don't know if he's famous in India, but he seems like such trash.
Oh, this Karan guy, the TV host?
Yes, he's pitching her his talk show.
I do a talk show. It's called Coffee with Karan, and has interviewed celebrities from the entertainment industry, predominantly Bollywood. And the show is irreverent and fun. It's meant to be mildly scandalous.
You know, I have bigger scandals than show business.
Of course.
Basically, like, I'm trash, like I'm TMZ, and I just talk about their scandals. And Sheila's like, oh, I have bigger scandals than showbiz people. And this guy's like, oh my God, of course. They're all like kindergarten scandals compared to your life. And they laugh. I'm going to say this again. She tried to poison an entire town. I am being gaslit by everyone from second one. And I don't appreciate it.
I don't know about like how progressive India is, but this guy Karan, the TV host, is like the fifth guy we've met in the first 10 minutes who is definitely not attracted to women.
I think you could like be gay in India.
Can you? I hope you can. I don't want to, like, I don't know. I'm just like, wow, like everyone seems very out loud and proud. I also wanted to say that when she's driving from the airport, did you see the name drop of the century when she was like,
when last time I came to Delhi, we spent most of the time waiting at the residence of Indira Gandhi.
the last time I was in India, I spent so many hours at the house of Indira Gandhi.
Okay, Sheila, you know what?
I know.
Move along.
Also, by the way, I want this guy's show, Coffee with Karan, to have a YouTube channel because I would watch the living shit out of it. I want to watch this bitchy queen Karan get like the celebrities of India from Bollywood, which is where he said he gets all of his celebrities from,
right,
to give us like the equivalent of like India's Paris Hilton dirt. I would watch it every day.
So you also get in a time machine to go back to 1999 when Paris Hilton dirt was like shit people cared about?
Listen, I also realized that when I was saying how famous she was, I compared her to Madonna at LAX, which is like, it really did age me, girl.
But that tracks.
Should I have said Ariana Grande?
Yeah, whatever. Olivia Rodrigo. Say her.
So this guy Karan is interviewing Sheila on stage. This is when I had the note, why is all of this in English?
Oh.
Everything is in English. We're in India.
Yeah, both of those things are happening. I don't know. I don't know why. It never occurred to me.
I was like, this is really weird. Like, and the way that everyone in this documentary, like all the people from India, the way they speak English is flawless. It's just one of those things that makes me feel stupid.
Oh, same. Where I'm like, oh, I can barely speak Spanish, which is unacceptable.
Yeah. But this guy, Karan, is like just interviewing her like live on stage.
Yeah. So really, the rest of the documentary is just Sheila sitting down for conversations like this with multiple people. So this is really the first one we see.
It's unfortunate that after everything that actually transpired and happened, that you finally had to flee from there. And did you feel that for yourself that it was the end of an era?
I left because I had a personal problem with Bagwan. 300 people came to drop me off at the airport. That's not fleeing.
No, I didn't flee. I didn't leave. I just left, you know?
But you know what? I do want to say that, like, the fucking dirtbag Bagwan, like, definitely leaned into misogyny to be like, she's a woman and she's evil. And she's like, fuck that. 300 people brought me to the airport. That is not fleeing. Like, even though Sheila did a lot of really bad things, I still don't want this fucking man rewriting the history of what happened. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not. And we will get there.
Yeah.
There's someone who's very much on our side with that.
But I love when the guy, Karan, I don't know why, I didn't even write his name down. I just remembered him. This guy made a real impression on me.
I'm shocked by this. How many times, by the end of Tiger King, you were like, what's that guy's name? And I'm like, Joe Exotic. If I have to say it, it's episode 6.
I know.
He's like part of the fucking zeitgeist now, and you don't know his name, but this guy, you know. Great. Always a surprise. Always a surprise.
So he basically asks her if the relationship with the Bagwan was platonic, and Sheila's like, let's just cut to the chase.
I didn't have sex with him, if that's what you mean.
Politely, I was asking that.
Every clip we get of the Bagwan in this is him saying like what a lowlife she was, what a down and dirty lowlife she was, how like she robbed him and she, you know, how stupid she is.
Yeah.
He calls her his secretary, and then cut to Sheila, and all she could do is that doughy-eyed like I was so in love with him. But she was saying like I was so in love with him I didn't need to have sex, and she says
I was already drowning in him. What more do I want?
Yes.
His eyes were probably more beautiful than his penis was. I'm not sure. I don't know. I have never seen it.
And then she's like, well, again, I never saw his peen. And everyone is hysterical laughing. And I'm like, who did you think you were going to see? Because if you paid money and you're like fawning over Sheila, you must know her from Wild Wild Country. And if you sat and watched every episode like we did, then you understand that she tried to poison people. She was saying, remember that building bomb thing?
Uh-huh.
And I just feel, I need to put both feet on the floor and like I feel insane for asking these questions that are like, why are you loud? Like, he's like, I don't get it.
I know.
So after this, right? She's like mobbed by all of her fans.
I know.
This made me laugh so hard. And I'm not laughing with her. I'm laughing at her because she's signing old, like 30-year-old black and white headshots. I mean, like, so it's like young Sheila. It's like tough titties Sheila. But it's an old headshot that's black and white, and she's doing like that pose, and they're all, I don't know what, and you know she came with them because no one has those glossy 8x10s just in their back pocket. And she's like, oh, what's a selfie? I'm so cute. I don't know anything. It is unreal.
It really is. I wrote, she's mobbed for autographs like she's Madonna or the Indigo Girls. Imagine the Indigo Girls walking through the Newport Folk Festival, you guys. Now you have some idea of what Sheila's life is like. Just let them all live.
It's like Tori Amos perusing a thrift store in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? It's exactly like that.
Oh, so now, and this is a real treat every time it happens. Sheila's driving around in a car, and when she's in the car, she has a mandate. We never hear the mandate, but we know it's true because it's the only thing that happens. She will only listen to radio about her. Like, every time she's in the car, she's listening to, like, commentary on her visit to India.
Right, and so the person it's like this morning radio show, like the India's Z Morning Zoo or whatever.
You know her by the name Ma Anand Sheela. Absolutely no introduction needed for you. I think you're more popular or just as popular as Game of Thrones now. I mean,
you're basically more popular than Game of Thrones. And I just want to pause here for a second because I think it's amazing how nobody gives a fuck about Game of Thrones anymore. Game of Thrones was the biggest thing. There have been like pieces written on this because they screwed up the last season so bad. People were it was the biggest deal, and now it's like Game of what? Oh, remember that show? It's kind of a weird pop culture, like amazing phenomenon.
But in a smaller way, we see it in the true crime world all the time. There'll be a time when like there's like Don't F with Cats was all anybody was talking about at all.
Oh, yeah.
And then Tiger King happened. And it was like Don't F with Cats went away. Like we see that all, like we'll get requests and we're like somehow we found a Steve Tipton to get us several weeks ahead with our recordings. So by the time we get to the documentary the moment has passed,
Right. But the thing is, then people will still discover it down the line.
Yeah.
Did you do this? It's like, no, I suffered through Don't F with Cats. Yeah, of course we did.
Also, I've never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones.
I just think it's sort of a fascinating pop culture thing where it was like the most gigantic deal and nobody cares about it. But anyway, it's almost like how I don't care about Sheila.
Right. Further to that point, here's an example. Sheila does this throughout the rest of the documentary where she's talking in sentences that don't make any sense. They're like long sentences so people don't question her. Somebody says, do you think there's been any change in the perception about you? And she's like,
well, timeline of perception is not so reliable.
Yeah.
It depends what the situation is and how it moves and who moves it.
what? Like, that is one of 95 times I don't know what the fuck she's saying.
That's right out of the Bagwan's playbook, though. That's right out of, that's Cult 101, right? Just like talk and talk and talk. So we're at this, I don't know if she's at like a restaurant at night or something, but it's like a casual press jump because she's just sitting there holding court, and there are people standing in front of her and they all seem to be kind of young, cool reporters. So everyone is joking about how the FBI is probably hiding in the bushes about to get them all. So they know, they're aware that she's a terrorist. But some reporter, some like superstar reporter just says,
you pleaded guilty to attempt of murder, right?
No.
That's what we
read about. Yeah, but your information
That's what I want to ask you.
Faulty.
Yeah. But there are things you admitted to when you went to jail.
No, I didn't admit.
You did.
No. I know what I did.
And Sheila's like, you have bad information. And essentially, it's this back and forth where the reporter's like, if I have bad information, then tell me the right information. Let's talk about it then.
Yes,
and then I don't know if it's your friend Karan or her PR person. We don't see his face, but he answers for Sheila.
I love the idea that she did one interview with Karan and he now travels with her to do the answering of the question.
I would not be surprised if they are just now inseparable. And so Sheila's just like, she kind of smiles and points like, yeah, listen to this guy. But the reporter continues. I'm obsessed with her because she's like, yeah, but you admitted to things. That's why you were in prison. And Sheila goes, no, I didn't. And the reporter goes, yeah, you did. And Sheila goes, no. And everyone laughs. And I'm like, even if you are meeting this woman for the first time, that is such a condescending, infuriating way to interact with somebody. I don't know how anyone could find that charming in any sense.
And you know what? Let me throw this in, right? The whole reason she's there is to be on a tour for her book called Don't Kill Him. What was in the book, Sheila? Like, did you not address any of the because if the reporter read the book, which I'm assuming that she did, why aren't you writing in your book about your time with the Bagwan and your jail sentence about what you actually went to jail for? And did you expect nobody was going to ask you about it?
Right. And then she says, and the reporter's like,
I want to know what you actually admitted to and what.
I tell you. Yeah. Ask me, I will tell you.
Please tell us.
And have an open mind to listen.
Yes, definitely.
Okay? I admitted to bring in Bagwan to USA, which US interpreted as immigration fraud.
Well, ask me and I'll tell you. And I want to like throw myself out the window because I'm like, that's what she's been asking you. She has been asking you. And she's like, but you have to have an open mind. You have to listen. And it's like, no, Sheila, I'm not going to like just accept your bullshit. I'm asking you a question. And we're like, well, sure. Just all you have to do is ask, Jillian. And I'm like, oh my God, stop gaslighting this amazing reporter who again just like lets it go. So I don't know how amazing she is.
And then she like yells at this young guy. This guy says to her, like, you know, you seem like a real spiritual person. Can you talk about what made you do some of the darker stuff? She turns on this guy.
Why do you make this judgment, young man? Were you there? Had you seen?
No.
Have you seen anyone do it?
Why would you make a judgment like that, young man? Were you there? She's like so crazy, and it's like, Sheila, we all know what you did.
Right, and she's like, well, hold on. All right, fine. I'll admit to one thing. I will admit to smuggling the Bagwan into America, which the U.S. interpreted as immigration fraud, but it really wasn't. And also, I did those wiretaps, but it was all on the up and up and everything. And I'm like, wait, Sheila, like, I know our system needs a lot of work. I know it needs a lot of overhauling, but I watched that documentary.
I know.
This isn't like a false confession, Jesse Miss Kelly, like Brandon Dassey. This is not where we are. So for her to admit to it and be bragging about it and be Miss Tough Titties and then say, like, just ask me and I'll tell you. Oh, but you can't ask me that because I'm not going to do that.
Well, and also she says about her jail time, she's like,
after 35 years, people are still talking about it. They have not moved an inch away. No matter where I go, people only ask me, Normally, when you have served a sentence, it is 0-0.
I served my time. Why can't we move on and talk about something else? And I said, because you wrote a book and went on tour.
Like, then what are we doing here, Sheila? And like, she's like, I served my sentence, you have to drop it. Because the thing is, she doesn't want anyone to drop it when she's taking the selfies. She doesn't want anyone to drop it when she's on the morning show. She loves it. She only wants people to drop it when they ask her questions she doesn't like. And to that I say, Sheila, tough fucking titties. I can't handle it.
So now we're going back and we're getting all this footage from Sheila back in the day and like what a quote badass she was. But this is the shit where like she looks real mad, girl. She looks real mad.
I'm not a woman who stabs from the back, but I don't believe in turning the other cheek. If somebody's going to give me a whack, I'm going to give him right back from one hand, other hand, and the bottom too. I tell you, the county is so fucking bigoted, it deserves to be taken over.
It was Sheila and the cult versus the sleepy town in Oregon who just wanted to sleep peacefully without hearing them all have sex in the middle of the night. Do you remember that? Because the sound would travel. Yeah. And Sheila was so enraged by that she tried to poison them.
There's a lot that we get reminded about in this little section that I had totally forgotten about. Like the secret tunnel in Sheila's house that led to a secret laboratory where mice were slowly being poisoned.
Right.
Like, Sheila!
Like a library of books on assassination.
I know. And she's just talking about how, like, you know, she says that, like, I'm not a woman who stabs from the back, whatever that means. But she's like, I also don't believe in turning the other cheek. If somebody gives me a whack, she's like, I'm going to give it to them right back from one hand and then the other and then the I'm like, Sheila, like, you see this in all the cult documentaries. The people who are in the cult are, like, really in the cult. Yeah. And, like, Sheila was ready to commit mass murder in the name of this cult.
She says in a very famous clip.
And you tell your governors, you tell your attorney general, and all your bigoted pigs outside, one of our person, I will have 15 of their heads, and I mean business.
If you take out one of ours, I'll take 15 heads. And she looks right into the camera and she goes, and I mean business. But she's like, what? Like, Sheila today's like, what? I never said that. That's not me.
I know.
I didn't do that.
And then we get like another clip of the Bagwan who's just here to talk shit about Sheila, saying that like she was going to bomb the local courthouse. Like, Sheila, I feel like Sheila was moving a little more quickly than she needed to. You know what I mean?
Yes, Sheila, just take a breath.
How about you just start with like poison the town and just see how that goes? Or like blow up the courthouse and just see how that goes.
Remember when she was poisoning the town? Like, when you think about that, she was, because it was like some buffet or it was their restaurant or something and they were poisoning. Like, oh my God.
Yes, I know.
But she's a real charmer.
At the end of this section, I just wrote, it is chaos down here, Tom.
Tom. And so now she's talking to a woman. She's like in front of an audience.
Yeah.
This woman is asking her, again, she's talking in circles, but it's that same question. Like, what happened to that Sheila on the news? You seem so nice now. Let's dive into that. Again, talks in circles, just like she's in the cult. And she explains.
And Sheila was always polite and loving when she was young. This front that I had to put up, that was a deterrent from people who were trying to discriminate against our community.
She had to put up this front, and as a woman, sometimes you have to do that. Fair enough, okay?
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
But this gets interesting because the woman starts asking her about the Bagwan, and she's like,
is there something not unfair about the fact that the women were penalized and the man at the heart of this, nothing happened to him? He did not stand by you. He called you a criminal. I have to tell you, as a woman, this disturbs me and I want you to be angry. Why aren't you angry?
I cannot satisfy you.
And Sheila literally says, well, he did go to jail for 15 days. If he had stayed any longer, he would have died.
Adorable.
Do you remember that? Remember when the Bagwan was in jail and we kept seeing the footage of it in the documentary? And they were like smuggling him in pants and they were like smuggling themselves in so they could pray at his feet.
Yeah, it's the Robert Durst, Harvey Weinstein. Suddenly you're all sickly and ill when you have to actually face the consequences of your fucking actions, you douchebags.
Yeah, and this is where she says also, she's like, I know you all have an opinion of me from your own experience. She's like, that's fine. Just don't call me spiritual. Call me a criminal. Criminal is better than spiritual. And she has this really interesting point where she's like,
I didn't want to become spiritual. I didn't want to become enlightened or learn about meditation. I had no interest in that. I was just a young girl living her own life, exploring. And I went to Bagwan because I fell in love with him.
here's my question. Like, is she refusing to, like, talk shit about the Bagwan because she's, like, still in love with him or because he's her meal ticket? You know what I mean? Like, he's even all 30 years after his death, this book and, like, her connection to him is all she has. So, like, if she's, like, the, quote, angry woman who's, like, out to, like, right the wrongs, I don't know. Like, does she lose the spotlight? I like, what is it that she's still hanging on to this guy for?
And it's so frustrating that it's an hour of live interviews and that never comes up. Like, then what is she talking about? So if she's saying, she's explaining that enlightenment is basically the perfect product to market because it's not tangible and you can scam people very easily. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, we're not new here.
Right.
But then, like, so is that what her book is about? That she doesn't believe him? Or, like, I don't know why we never get to, like, filmmaker, ask her a question.
Why don't we know what the book is about? You know what I mean? The book is, like, we're here for her book tour. It's called Don't Kill Him. No one ever tells us what the book is about. Also, I've never heard of this book.
Well, like, who cares? Like, who... Sheila.
And then suddenly, like, we start going to these dinner parties with her. Like, she's got all these, like, fancy friends or whatever. We meet this guy, Raghu Rai, is I think how you say his name. He's a, quote, renowned photographer. Yeah. And they're talking, and they're at an outside dinner party, and I tried to follow it. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about, but it does sound like he's trying to mansplain something to her.
Enlightenment.
Yeah.
He's trying to mansplain enlightenment or basically tell her, like, no, you actually were enlightened. And she's like, bitch, stop calling me that. Like, I don't want you to call me enlightened. Please stop doing it. Yeah. She's at this dinner party with these socialites, these, like, beautiful people.
It's Bina Ramani. She is, her lower third is socialite entrepreneur, but I would also say busybody.
Badinsky.
She is, like, chatting from, like, the second we see her, and we learn, like, you know how, like, Sarah Edmondson loves being connected to NXIVM? Yeah. This woman, Bina, loves being connected to the murder of this woman, Jessica Lal. It apparently made her and her family very famous in India, and, like, she secretly loved it. Yeah. But, like, the reason she knows Sheila is because they were able to, like, escape out of India and be taken to the compound in Oregon.
So there we get there, and the first thing you have to do is remove everything you came with, down to your watch, your rings, your everything, and your clothes, and you have to pick a maroon garment from the. And the minute we got into maroon and we were in an ocean of maroon, nobody gave a shit. This is Bina, we were suddenly free of ours.
So this woman, Bina, her daughter, Malini, is here. And so the two of them were these, like, star witnesses in this murder. So the daughter, who's, of course, a fashion designer, of course she is, she shows up with a bunch of her friends, and she's like, oh, my God, Sheila, we're your biggest fans. Fans of what?
She interrupts her mother mid-murder. Like, her mother is, like, in the middle of explaining how hard it was for her when her, like, young, beautiful daughter shows up and completely interrupts her.
I mean, the fashion designer, gorgeous daughter, like, that's her role. Yeah. She just comes in and she's like, hi, it's me now. It's about me now. It's like when you enter a room. Hi, it's going to be all about me. Thanks.
I was like, we're all thinking it. I don't think Jillian's going to say, oh, no, there she, yep, no, she said it.
Yeah, no, look, I'm in it today. I'm in it. So this daughter of hers who's, like, fawning all over Sheila, then they start bonding because the daughter is like, look, everyone here has been arrested, like, quite a few times, Sheila. Like, that's why we all get along. It's like that idea that, like, famous people just sort of inherently get along because they're all famous. That's kind of what this woman is doing to Sheila. And Sheila's like, yeah, it's pretty great, but don't ask me anything about it, but it's pretty awesome. So this reporter, again, everyone just wants to talk to her about her relationship with the cult leader. And the reporter says,
he let you down very, very deeply as a human being. Yeah?
I don't think so.
No?
No. When you leave a person who is part of your breathing, It does hurt. Your lungs feel it. But that's how it was. I don't deny it.
He let you down on a very deep level, right? And Sheila's like, no, not really. I mean, I feel it in my lungs and my guts and my bones and my soul, and I can't really sleep, and I haven't really eaten in 35 years, but I'm fine. I'm totally fine about it. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. I don't care. It's all good. And this woman, though, again, like another lady reporter really tries to kind of make her deal with some of this stuff.
Yes.
And she goes, look, I'm not going to ask you about the bioterrorism, okay? I'm not going to ask you about poisoning the town or how you tried to assassinate a senator and like your coworkers and fellow cult members. I'm not going to ask any of that.
You know, many people have asked you, and I'm not going to ask you that question, whether you actually perpetrated the bioterror attack and poisoned the town. I'm not going to ask you whether you tried to assassinate a senator and your co-workers. I'm not going to ask you those questions.
Look, I'm not going to ask you that, okay? But I will ask you this. If you had to, would you poison an entire town if it needed to be done? And everyone's like, oh, that's adorable, very cute. Everybody laughs or chortles.
Yeah,
and Sheila is suddenly like, wait a second.
Right.
Like, it's like her biggest fear happened. Like someone tried to finally call her out on this. And she's like,
no, I did not do it. I would not do it. I am my parents' daughter who had learned the correct values of life. And I'm being very patient. You don't even know how many hundreds of journalists have gone through my life since imprisonment. And the same old, nobody has any creative questions.
Ma Sheela,
no, I didn't do it. I would not do it. And nothing is true that you've heard and nothing that I admitted to. It's like, Sheila, I'm so exhausted by this entire thing because it's just the same conversation.
But Sheila also says to this journalist, I'm so patient that I'm putting up with your bullshit.
Yes.
I gotta say, like 2 minutes before this journalist in front of a room full of people tried to like be one with Sheila. She tried to tell Sheila about her own public breakup and how badly like her shame in the press was. And Sheila goes, except I don't have any shame.
Sheila.
I know, but she's shaming this journalist. Like and this is where she says like 90% of the journalists ask me the exact same questions, including you. And Sheila never answers the questions.
Right. But Sheila, that's what a press tour is. It's the same question everywhere you go.
Yes,
it's just a promotional thing. Any celebrity will be like, oh, it's the worst. Like those press junkets. You sit in a room and you answer the same questions for 12 hours a day. That's what you signed up for, girl.
Yes.
So we're back to, I think it's the same house with the fashion designer and the murder witnesses.
Oh, great.
And it's a gorgeous house, but Sheila is now holding court and everyone is hammered and talking over each other, but she's trying to do like the Bagwan thing where she's trying to ask deep questions. And she's like, how many of you are ruthlessly honest with yourselves? How many of you are introspective? How many of you are hypocrites? Everyone is sloshed, fucking hammered, talking all over each other. Someone's like, I'm a hypocrite. Like we're trying so hard to connect with her and give the right answer to these bullshit, like
But the thing for me about this, the way I watched this was that when she says,
how many of you are honest with yourself ruthlessly?
all the women raised their hands. And then it was like,
how many of you are hypocrites?
All the women raised their hands. Who among you do introspection? And the men don't even know what the word introspection means.
They're like, what?
This man is like fighting with her over the word introspection. And I was like, oh God, why do we raise women to like have to hate themselves like this?
And it's like, you can't even mansplain it because what she's saying doesn't make any sense and it doesn't go anywhere. Then she goes on this whole thing about like, you know, she's rambling about how we have to look inside ourselves to ask and answer the real questions. And I'm like, but you won't answer a single question, Sheila.
I know. And I have to pause on this one moment because it made me think of you. We're like between speaking gigs or whatever, and she's backstage somewhere and this man is doing her makeup and is trying to do her like lips while she's trying to talk. And I was having a flashback to Truth or Dare. I just kept waiting for Sheila to scream, do something else, do my eyes.
I cannot hear myself.
But then the guy does do her eyes and he paints her. I feel like he did not like the tone of her look, and he paints her the thickest, fullest eyebrow to the point where the guy walks away and Sheila like goes deep into the mirror.
Yeah. Like, what is this? It's like in Best in Show where she's like, she did my makeup and I looked freakish, so I didn't want to. But this other interviewer, this other woman says essentially like, Sheila, what are we doing here? What do you want from this?
I gotta tell you, this was one of my favorite moments because this interviewer says to Sheila, like, are you bothered by the way that people think of you?
Does that upset you? That look, I said this, but it was interpreted in a totally different way?
To me, it doesn't make difference because I know who I am and what I am.
But then if it doesn't bother you, what are you seeking from this? Redemption for yourself?
This interviewer is really unflappable.
Yeah.
And she literally says, like, if it doesn't bother you, then what are you seeking from all of this?
Right.
Why are you here? Are you looking for redemption for yourself? Sheila cannot answer the question. And it was the one moment that I actually felt like Sheila was left kind of speechless. It's a quick moment in the documentary, but I thought of all the interviews we saw, this interviewer was the one that, like, didn't back down, wasn't a fan, wasn't impressed, wasn't intimidated, and she was leaning into her. It was such an Oprah move, you know?
It was. Yeah. Because then she even says like, okay, then you tell me what happened then. Tell me what happened. Meaning like what happened in Oregon. And she refuses. Sheila refuses.
Would you like to tell us what really happened? And
No, I don't want to tell you about what really happened because what I will tell you what really happened, you won't believe me.
I know who I am and I know what I am, and that's all that matters. And it's like, I need to go to bed. I'm so tired of all of this. I'm exhausted.
Speaking of bed, we get the next shot is Sheila in bed. You guys, Sheila's FaceTiming with her daughter. So I guess we learned that in 1979, she adopted a young girl who's now like a grown-up and lives in America.
Yeah.
And all we know is that it's Halloween in America, and Sheila wants to know if her granddaughter is going as Sheila for Halloween.
And first of all, her daughter, we don't see her daughter. We don't even see her on the screen.
Yeah.
The daughter did not want to be involved. And the daughter's reaction, tell me if you caught this, because she's like...
She's good. She's with her dad tonight. It's Halloween, so they're trick-or-treating.
Okay, is she dressing up like Sheila?
She should have.
Yeah, haha, she should have, I guess, huh?
I know.
She is just, I feel like I want to talk to the daughter. Imagine growing up with that as a mother.
Do you think Daisy will be involved in the documentary they eventually make about me, or is she going to refuse?
She'll either make it and it'll be one of those things where it's like, she'll be like this really cool city kid that's like, here was my crazy fucked up life, or she'll want nothing to do with it.
Daisy Tipton Hines could not be reached for comment.
100%. And because I told her not to make a comment.
Totally. Also, Sheila is just learning what a meme is.
It's a meme. And it's like, Sheila, none of this is cute. I've ranted about this to you and Mike, and you're both like, you need to calm down about this. But I just have no patience for people who in this day and age don't get things like that. And it's not cute. And grow up. And it's like, she wants to be cool. But she's like...
You know what they're doing here in India on social media? They use my words almost like emojis.
How so? What does, like...
They call it mimi or the mimic or the something.
A
meme.
Meme.
Right.
Yeah.
So they put my words, and the daughter's like, it's a meme, Mom. Like...
I know. Also, can you imagine being Sheila's daughter living in America when Wild Wild Fucking Country comes out? It's all anyone's talking about.
And I think, I don't think they had her name in here. I think smartly she was just like, I really want absolutely nothing to do with this.
But then we're at the point of the documentary, which I knew we were going to get to eventually. Then she goes to Mumbai, which is where she met the Bagwan. And we remember that, like, her father introduced her to the Bagwan. Her father brought her to the home of the Bagwan. And, they lived in this apartment in Mumbai where, like, they fell in love, and she was his secretary, but then it became more, and then she became the number 2. And it was like this, like, the place where she fell in love with the Bagwan. You guys... We go back to this apartment and we're in the hallway. For some reason, she's got some student with her. I guess because her own daughter doesn't want to be
some unpaid intern.
And this poor girl, they go, like, this is a totally unannounced visit. Somebody else lives in this apartment.
Yes.
She makes the student go and knock on the door to ask if they can come in. You guys, the door is answered by their words, not mine, answered by a servant who fully knows who Sheila is and is not letting her in.
Right. I'm shocked that this was even kept in because I guess they needed to make it almost an hour, but it's such a bad... It's like how I think she should be treated all the time. We're like, nope, you can't come in. I don't like you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Finally, someone shuts a door in her face.
I know. She's just standing there in the hallway. Why did they keep this in? I can't believe they kept this in.
I just have I hate this in my notes over and over again. So if I'm skipping something, are we back in Switzerland yet? Is that where you are in your notes? Are we? Please,
they go to
God.
the beach. She talks about being a queen, going through the guillotine.
She's talking about the nature of love. She doesn't know what love is. Get out of here with that, Sheila.
Oh, She's back home. We're back in Switzerland. We're almost there. Go home stretch, girl. We're going to be fine.
So we're back in Switzerland. Again, she works with disabled people in a senior home. It's kind of an incredible job. We never hear anything about that, what that day-to-day is like. They probably have no idea that she tried to murder a whole town. That's kind of interesting. But she's back. She's talking with one of her residents. And she's having a conversation about death, about how one has to be prepared to go. I understand that these are important conversations to have, but she needs to calm the fuck down because she's being very aggressive with this woman, and you can't understand, it's not in English, of course, but she's basically trying to force this person to change their point of view on death. And I'm like, Sheila, just let them have this. They just want it. It feels so she just keeps pushing, and she's like, nope. I don't know this person's mental state. I don't know any. It's just it feels so harsh. And at one point, the person's like, I think that's stupid, Sheila. Eventually they're just like, no, Sheila. And finally Sheila just goes, okay. And I was like, yes, that's what, just let this person go to bed and sleep soundly with whatever their belief system is tonight, Sheila. God damn it.
Here's my question, though. As much as I think Switzerland's probably great and they probably give a lot of money and funding and support to people working with people who have these kinds of needs, why doesn't Switzerland know that she tried to murder a town, that she tried to blow up a courthouse, that she...
Right. It's not like us where we're just desperate for anyone to give a shit on any given day. It's not. I agree with you. I feel like Switzerland probably has a lot of big hearts, a lot of people giving their time and their. But
before you give somebody a license to be in charge of people with serious problems,
vulnerable people.
Yeah, could you give him a goog? One quick goog would, I think, quickly bring up the attempted assassination of the senator.
But if she started the home herself, there's no one asking any questions.
There's gotta be, you gotta have to have a license. Even I, when I had the daycare for 2 weeks, had to have a fucking license.
I'm sure it's not on her resume. That's me, Tough Titty Sheila. But you'd think that's all she wants to talk about. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
That's me.
You think they're crocheting tough titties? That's their activity for the day?
Is that how it ends?
It's just she's just going, she's like, here's the bed my father died in. Sheila, what are we, I didn't even think this could sink any lower. And then here's the bed my father died in. Thank you for showing me.
If you guys could see the look of utter bewilderment on Jillian's face.
And she's just, you have condemned me and they want me to redeem myself so they can redeem themselves. And I'm like, Sheila, I don't understand what you're saying. And she ends with this gem where she's like,
I went in a prison. I sat there 39 months. Now it's enough.
I went to prison for 39 months. Enough already. I don't want to talk about it.
So then I wrote, but then why'd you write a book?
I said that don't do a press tour, Sheila. And also, where's the journey? Where was she before? There's no curiosity. There's no point of view.
I know.
Are we done? My throat hurts me.
Oh my God, you guys, we did Searching for Sheila. Well, I spent the first 40 minutes of this, it's only 50 minutes long, being like, how are we going to even talk about this?
Yeah.
What even happens in this documentary?
It's just a commercial for Sheila.
Yeah. Oh, well, if you guys want more of these shenanigans, join us on the Patreon. Over 210 full ad-free bonus episodes to download and binge right now. Night Stalker, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, Serial, The Staircase, The Jinx, Lorena, Menendez Murders, Lacey Peterson.
All right, well, now this is a one-man show. Thanks a lot.
Remember when you said I was just like Sheila and that when I walk into a room, I say, hello, everybody. It is now all about me.
No, that was the fashion designer daughter.
Oh, she and I did have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Girl, what are we doing next?
We are doing White Boy.
Oh, what is this about? Do you know?
This is about this kid known as White Boy Rick, and he was an FBI informant and drug kingpin in Detroit in the 80s. Wow. It's a wild, wild ride. to say the least.
So stay tuned for the trailer for that and our hilarious outtakes. Follow us on social. I'm at Patrick Hines _ on Instagram. Jillian is Jillian with a G and all the things. Follow us at True Crime Obsessed Podcast and come hang with us every Tuesday at noon for Ladies Who Lunch.
Yeah, so it's noon Eastern, and we just hang out and answer your questions and talk about whatever. Probably Sheila coming up. I mean, I have a lot to say.
All right, we love you guys.
We love you. Thanks so much.
All right, bye.
Bye.
We're gonna look like businessmen delivering packages.
Money, money, money!
Only us and you will know it's drugs. Okay.
Anybody who's in possession of over 650 grams of cocaine, mandatory life.
White boy Rick. His name is Richard Wershey Jr.
I was like, who was this white kid, you know, that was supposedly running all these black gangs and running the city of Detroit?
Why would a juvenile, nonviolent drug offender be kept in prison beyond 29 years?
I found out that the reality was much different than the legend.
And I knew that there were corrupt police officers involved in this thing.
Every police officer down at 1300 was crooked.
If you're a criminal, I would advise you never to get a nickname.
So they said, we got to kill that white boy.
Law enforcement created almost the perfect criminal.
The war on drugs is over, and drugs won.
There's still a lot of angry people in the city of Detroit, in positions of power.
I did way more than he could possibly have done to get that kind of a sentence.
Third world countries don't incarcerate like this.
You're not trying to tell me that you're an angel, that you never did anything wrong, are you?
I've been involved in wrongdoing, but I don't feel I did anything to receive a life sentence.
Nothing makes me feel like an old screamy get off my lawn than this shit. This makes me... Go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off probably. What were you saying?
I just wanted to say before we get to the trailer, you guys, you came on a good night. You came on a good night. Oh, and also they're taking pictures of her backstage and they're chatting while they're doing it. And I have the closed captions on. And every time anybody laughs at any volume, it says chortles.
Chortle. I saw that too. I was like, oh, I hate that word.
I know.
Chortle.
I think it's how you would describe my laughter. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not. No, chortle, like to me, is what is that? Onomatopoeia where it sounds like what it is?
Are people laughing like, ah! That's what a chortle sounds like to me.
Well, now they are in my head when I hear chortle.
This is where we see the Bagwan again, and I just went, oh, fuck. I forgot this guy adds an S to everything. Remember that?
I do. Where he'd be like, I don't like Sheila. But it was a sh.
Yeah.
It was the SH. Oh, he's nauseating.
My friend Martha Plimpton was on a TV show, and she would have to do those all the time, where she'd get up at 7 a.m. and it would be like, from her computer, where it would be like 40 morning zoo radios. And people, all these guys, these DJs who are 19, they never heard of her. They've never seen the Goonies, you know what I mean? And every morning, she'd be like, the first person to call me Marsha, I'm hanging up on.
Do you know what Mike's favorite part of Truth or Dare is? When she's eating the soup and her dad is like, do you think you could like scam us a ticket? And she's like, Dad, you and every, like, who do you think you're talking to?
I know. She's slurping the soup, by the way. She is manspreading on her own couch. She's got the soup between her legs.
Yep. Well, it's her show clothes. She shouldn't be eating in her show clothes to begin with, first of all, but